Transgender mental illness. Transgender is not a mental illness. Let me repeat. Transgender mental illness. Transgender is not a mental illness. Transgender can cause mental illness. I looked up some Sigmund Freud and about psychosexual illness and psychosexual theory, and it got me thinking about my own transgender beliefs and how I became transgender, and it all is starting to make a lot of sense, particularly in why I became transgender. I do have mental illness, but I believe that transgender caused my mental illness. I'm not mentally ill because I'm transgender. Transgender is not a mental illness. I'm not mentally ill, as transgender didn't cause. I'm not mentally ill, and that caused my transgenderism. Let me be clear. I didn't become mentally ill, and that caused me to be transgender. I was transgender, and that may have caused me to become mentally ill. You see, I was transgender already, and then my uncle molested me when I was about 10 years old. He touched my genitals when I was in the shower, and this ended up causing me to form a genital difficulties, and now I have more of an oral fixation. However, my oral fixation may have been caused by something to do with breastfeeding. However, I don't know that. I probably had a normal oral breastfeeding. With my mother, my oral fixation is probably something to do with watching or my experiences in adolescence. Sigmund Freud also talks about the idea that a man has the idea that he wants to kill his father and sleep with his mother, and he is afraid that he is going to lose his penis because his father be castrated, and because his father has a more superior penis. But the idea that I will be castrated is not a bad one, because I wish to be a seductive woman. So for me, my father was always the type of man who desired seductive women in his life. I have a stepmother who is not, I shouldn't say a seductive woman, but who is a more seductive woman than my mother. And the women that my father he was always into Playboy magazines, and he would hoot and holler at women who have, like, for example, nice breasts and nice bodies. And so this must have to do with why I wanted to be a seductive woman. I don't want to replace my father and be the man of the house. Instead, I wanted to be a seductive woman and be a woman because probably because of my way my uncle molested me and made my genitals inactive, and because of how I wanted to be a seductive woman. And the idea of being castrated is one that I wish to hope for, and that I wish to be able to bear children. Read about Sigmund Freud, the psychiatrist theory in Wikipedia. He has a whole idea about the ego-id psychosexual theory, and you can understand much more about it. Now, there's so much more that people think that gender dysphoria is a mental illness. I can assure you it is not. I became mentally ill far after I was transgender. I had my first experiences with men and transgenderism before I became mentally ill. I became mentally ill at age 23. I became transsexual. I had transsexual experimentation when I was 21. I had thoughts and feelings in adolescence of transsexualism, but I think that society caused my mental illness, because if you read some of the comments in my videos about how you will never be a woman, and how some of the comments I get even today in 2021, that the transphobic people come out against transgender people. It's no wonder that transgender people turn mentally ill, because of the stigma and the burdens that we get. It causes such stress and strain that it causes mental illness. The stress should stop. It's no wonder that the mental illness just continues. The stress is very difficult to endure. I take medication that helps me cope with these stresses. I have the abilities to cope with stress through meditation, through talking with others, through talking with counselors. I reach out to other people. I know how to deal with stress now. I read books about how to cope with stress. The hormones that I take now and the books that I've read. Make sure you read my book on Becoming Queen Angela. It's available on Amazon. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. I'll be coming up with new videos every day on how to come out, mental illness and transgenderism. I'll have a new video every day for the next 30 days at least. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. You'll have a lot of good new information, and you won't be disappointed, I can assure you. like and subscribe. Thank you very much.